Are recording.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for coming on. Well, who the hell are you? Let's start with that.
Okay, good start. Good place to start. So my name's Jim Groves. I'm one of the co-founders of Rubberdesk, the marketplace for office space.
Fantastic. And how did you guys get started? How did you get into this business?
So we started about 2 years ago. We started because I guess we, from personally, came up with the idea 2 or 3 years ago now, when my wife was looking for office space. She was actually working from home. She's a consultant, working from home and getting pretty bored of doing that. Just because you're at home all day long and you kind of blur those lines a bit between am I at work or am I at home? So it's a bit frustrating. So I put her in touch with a friend who just had some spare office space. That wasn't really the whole catalyst. The catalyst then came when I saw Airbnb advertising in Sydney, renting my spare room paid for our holiday. And that's when the penny dropped. And I thought, well, there's so many businesses out there, so many small businesses who have this spare office space that's just sitting there, and so many other small businesses who want to use that space. Let's create a market and put them together. So that was really the genesis of the idea. That's where we kind of came up with the concept, create an Airbnb of office space. And then it just became fine tuning. We knew we had to build a platform for that. We knew we had to get people who had office space on board to show it and make it available. And then we knew we had to go and get people who wanted office space. So those are the 3 pillars, I guess, we had to build and go away and do it. And it kind of evolved from there.
Awesome. And so how long have you guys been going now? How many years?
So we started in May 2016. So we're up to about 2.5 years now. And since then, so that was really when we sort of built the platform. And it was one of those moments when you build it and they don't come. You're sitting there fully expecting the world to start knocking down your door, expecting the world to go, this is fantastic, let's start using it. But really, it was just an MVP anyway. So it was pretty sort of bare bones as a product, a marketplace. We built it in-house. And we kind of realized that we built it and then needed to go and populate it. We had an empty shop, in effect, and we needed to put some stock on the shelves so that when customers came into our shop, they'd have something to look at and browse around and find and buy.
That's fantastic. And so with, I guess, trying to attract that first stock when it is an empty shop, so to speak, how do you approach that? What's the first steps?
Yeah, that was the terrifying moment and the cringeworthy moment when you're talking to people and go, trust us, because trust is a huge part of any marketplace. Trust us with your office space. When we don't have any stock on the shelf, we don't have anyone else doing it. So really we went after low-hanging fruit. And what you've got to do is be really hyper-focused on when you're creating a marketplace. Hyper-focused and keeping it hyper-localized so you can create density of stock and then you can grow from there very quickly. So for us, low-hanging fruit was contacting co-working spaces, people who are already in the business of renting out their office space. We didn't need to convince them that sharing an office was a good idea because that was their business and they were already in it. So we approached them. We had really good conversations with the likes of Whatso Workspace, who were fantastic, and then a few of the others who jumped on board and saw the opportunity and saw how this would be really worthwhile. And then we quickly started to build up stock. Then it was a matter of good old-fashioned shoe leather, knocking on doors, picking up the phone, and going around and pleading with people and explaining what we do. And this was kind of, I harked back to what Airbnb did. Yeah. Airbnb, when they started, just went round and picked up the phone to everybody that was on Craigslist. And so, they looked around and said, well, people might already be doing this. Where are the mediums that they're going through to do this? And so for us, it was kind of a similar sort of thing. Look around on Craigslist and look around on those sorts of venues where people might already, shop windows on high streets, where people have got adverts out for space to lease, and just picking up the phone and engaging people and talking to customers. So that was, I probably spoke to a couple of thousand potential hosts during the first year. every day picking up the phone and just talking to potential customers.
That's awesome. And sorry, there's been a fire drill at the marketplace meetup in Sydney, and so everyone's kicked out of the building. So I'm just changing the location so all the people arriving right now know where this is. So
There
apologies.
you go. That's okay. That's right.
Being on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
So how do you scale that? Because obviously that first, getting those first customers on, literally dragging them through that process to then being up to scale so that you can be, on all sides of the world. While trying to build this business, because it's an amazing offering that makes sense for people to really manage their cash flows they're starting up as a business or as a business who's locked themselves into leases to be able to be flexible to suit what's going on. How have you approached that?
Yeah, so I think I approached the scalability issue probably a bit too early. And my view now is that scalability is not a problem you need to solve day one. Scalability is an issue you can solve when you've got lots of money down the line, when you understand your problem set a lot better, and when you understand what your customer demands are, what your customer values are, and what the marketplace and what the proposition is.
Yeah.
For us, we tackled scalability early on by implementing and building out features like integrated payment processing. Yeah. So I think we're the first platform where people can book and pay online for office space, and we handle that for all of our customers so they can book and pay through us. We also implemented license agreements to make it easy for our customers to use the platform. And then we made it so that it became a fully self-service platform. So we looked at Airbnb and said, well, you know what? Airbnb have invested millions of dollars in user experience analysis to understand how best to create a listing. Yeah. Let's look at how they did that. And let's offer our customers something very similar so that they can go online and they can create the listings themselves. Now, when you give people the tools, they are then able, and they're easy and they work well, then they're able to create their own listings, and it very quickly starts to take off. We don't need to be there creating listings for people. They can do it themselves. We don't need to be there taking payments because they can manage it themselves online. We don't need to be there in between creating friction. We can open it up and allow people and reduce the amount of friction in the whole process.
Yeah, and because you're not having to do the last minute style bookings, does that take a lot of the the hard part out of your business of being able to have that live data feed through, because it is longer stints or subscription based?
Yeah, look, that's a great question, and the last minute piece is something that I thought we'd be encountering an awful lot, and it's actually not. Yeah. We don't tend to be the last minute. Quickly, I need to grab an office for tomorrow. And I suspected we would. I thought we would be, and that's the position that's where we kind of targeted Rubberdesk initially. Then we realized, you know what? We're not like Airbnb. We pitched ourselves and said we're like Airbnb for office space because we can hang your hat on Airbnb, right? But yeah, absolutely, and it gets people across the concept of it very quickly. But the differences between us and that Airbnb model are that people rent office space long term by the month. They want to look at it before they move in, and they want to meet who else is there. And you don't rent an apartment in New York and go and look at it for the week before you're going to go on holiday. And they tend to be long-term, repeat, sticky business. So for us, we found that the important piece was getting people together, creating trust, and creating a meeting where people can come around and say, listen, I need an office for 4 people. Can I come around and look at yours and see what kind of business you are, talk to you and see what the space looks like, and create that first contact, and that first meeting is vital. And then the process around repeat bookings and payment processing and license agreements we take care of. But but the meeting piece is the crucial piece.
Great. And do you think that things like the Airbnbs and the spare workspaces, who are very different models but are in the same space, assisting with educating the market, that you can, whether it's book a house for a week in a new city, or book an office for a month for 2 desks, and then book a boardroom ad hoc as you need it for 20 people,
Yep.
Is everybody helping each other with this education? So do you think you're really having to build a category?
It felt like we had to build a category at first. No matter how much you tell people this is like Airbnb, but for, it felt like we were building a category. Yeah, it's hard. But you're right that when it raises the tide, and when the tide raises, all the boats raise with it, and it's that conversation started as a lot more advanced. The sharing economy was a thing, and has grown and has become a more understood thing. But there's still lots of people who would say, "Oh, but that wouldn't work in my situation because of." We're finding those because ofs becoming fewer and fewer, to be honest. And the general acceptance now is that actually, you know what, co-working as a term covers an awful lot, and it covers things like people who just share an office at WeWork, and they rock up and they have their permanent desk, but it's in an open plan office, to WeWork having dedicated desks. That's still kind of dedicated offices, which is still falls under co-working, to Microsoft or Google or Amazon renting large amounts of office space in a go with some of the bigger co-working spaces. And then you kind of turn it onto the small business and say, co-working is a generally adopted and generally understood term. Why don't you guys profit from this? You may have downsized. You may have just moved into a new office and be growing and have spare space. Why don't you profit from co-working? That extra space, you can rent that out, and there'll be a business that wants to rent it. And that's exactly what we've just done here.
Fantastic. And for the size of your business now and what you've been able to achieve, how are you as a leader make sure that you're constantly, on ahead of the curve, so to speak? How do you keep reassessing, am I doing the right thing or focusing on the right thing currently?
It's difficult. There's because when you are starting a business and you've got the term founder or co-founder in your business title, it actually just means you just do bloody everything.
You're the best person for it.
yeah, exactly. And so what you end up finding yourself doing is trying to extract yourself from those things that you did when you started to where you should be doing them, what you should be doing today.
Excellent strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And that scalability thing is crucial and hard, right? I think the important thing is, and that I've tried to do, is still engage customers. Still have those customer conversations. Still talk to them about what they need and what they want, because our customers' needs and demands are what's the only thing that matters. Everything else we build, and also our customers' perception of what we do and how the industry is going, that's key. But all the technology, we term ourselves a technology platform, but really it's only there because there are customers, right? Otherwise, it's just a philosophical argument. There's no point in doing it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then are there any sort of books that you recommend for founders, especially in the marketplace space, or podcasts that you listen to that have really had an impact on the decisions you're making as a leader?
I'm not a great one for reading management books. I rely more on talking to people, and I use books to unwind. That's my de-stress. My decompression zone is in books, and I struggle to get into business books when I'm decompressing. I surround myself with people that I can learn from. So in that regard, we have daily and weekly calls with some of our investors where we get there, who are passionate and understand their space and the industry and the market, and that's phenomenal. We've got within the team, David, my co-founder, CTO, sitting down with him, there is nothing I couldn't learn from David, and just sitting down every day and sitting down for 10 minutes and talking about the plans and where we want to go. And the same is true for our CMO on the marketing side, talking with Tom. There's just I find surrounding yourself by fantastic people is and people who have got incredible knowledge and you can learn from and inspire and be inspired by is just that's my piece. That's what I take away.
I agree. I have the exact same process, and that's what the marketplace meetup's all about. Especially when a fire alarm goes off, and they're all—I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this—sitting in the park,
Ah,
and learning from each other right now.
awesome. That's great.
Thankfully, everyone okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So, being a startup, it's tough, and I don't think people, there's always the glamour stories and start a startup, it's super fun, etc. But at the end of the day, it's tough. It on average takes 7 years for the overnight success to happen, and it's never a straight path. There's a lot of grey hairs or no hair involved.
Yep.
What do you do to manage your staff's mental health as well as yourself, and make sure there is that open communication?
Yeah. Look, it's tougher than I ever expected.
Yeah.
I came from 20 years investment banking world where I was working in technology and in trading, and I thought that was a high pressure environment. But the stakes here are so much more personal and so much higher. And I've had more sleepless nights starting my own business and starting Rubberdesk than I did in 20 years of investment banking through some pretty tough times as well. What I think is key is putting it in perspective and understanding that, look, we're all working for the best and aiming for the best, but you're always got to plan for the worst. But we're aiming and our best of intentions, and as long as we keep doing our best efforts and we keep working collaboratively and helping it, being supportively, working with each other, then we're doing the right thing. We're not saving lives, and people's lives aren't at risk with what we do. That's number one. I was in the army as well, and so I've kind of been in that position where that's an issue, right? So I know that what we're doing, lives aren't at risk. However, that doesn't mean it's any less important. So it's just about putting in perspective and managing that with people, and just having a frank and honest conversation. Yesterday, Mickey on the team was having issues, and so just saying, look, it's okay, take the rest of the day. And understanding people's personal needs and not sacrificing those values and people's values, and putting people first.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. And it's like marriage. You've got to keep working on that, because different things work for different people, and depending on where you're at and what's going on, it's sometimes when you're in tunnel vision and it's difficult. So it's important to talk about. So thank you.
Yeah.
The big tough question that I ask everyone: if you could have a superpower, what would it be? And why, of course.
Superpower, what would it be? Is sleeping through the nights. Does that count?
Yeah, that counts.
I'd love to be able to have a good night's sleep and not wake up at 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. and go, I wonder if we should.
Oh my God, I didn't do that.
Yes, or, oh hell, I meant to call. That would be one. Can I have a couple?
You can, please.
I love to be able to go and visit all of our members and meet them all.
Not a superpower.
Yeah, but it takes time. I need to add a few more hours to the day and teleport, because we got over 2,000 listings around Australia, so it's there's a big spread.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. And please, everyone, head to rubberdesk.com.
.au.
Just checking.
There will be a .com. There will be a .co.uk. There will be a .xxx for all of the countries when we next year when we go global.
Oh, fantastic! Very exciting. Well, we look forward to re-interviewing you at that next stage then.
Excellent. Nice one, Jen.
You know how to push stop record?
No. Stop recording.